It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
Hey guys, Tyler here. We have to talk about Candace Owens. The main reason why I want to talk about Candace Owens for this video is largely because she went on Twitter and stated that she's against pornography and thinks that porn should basically be banned. Now, when it comes down to this particular issue, I don't think that my whole entire stance about the notion about pornography is actually basically controversial. It's probably like common thought for liberal side, but not so much for conservative thought. But here's my own personal 2 cents about the whole entire issue about this particular comment, because I think it's actually good to have dialogue about different viewpoints that people will have or not have. When it comes down to this particular issue, the way I see it is that artistic expression manifests itself in many different ways. It can manifest itself through movies. It can manifest itself through books. It can manifest itself through paintings. And so there are at least 3 major type of artistic expression that we see nowadays. And of course, during the time of the Founding Fathers, things like cameras did not necessarily exist to record things. Of course, the idea, the notion of taking pictures came much later, but the idea of filming a movie did not necessarily exist until the time of Thomas Edison. The same Thomas Edison that also created the light bulb. And so thanks to Thomas Edison, movies that we actually have today continue to exist. The camera I'm using on my phone and different other cameras is largely thanks to the genius of Thomas Edison himself. So because art can basically manifest itself in many different ways, that will means that artists will also use any type of tool at their disposal to create their art. So sometimes art can be expressed by pen and paper. Sometimes art can be expressed by drawing. Sometimes art can be expressed by motion pictures. And so using various tools, it will allow the artist to present a story, allow the artist to have a certain way, a certain feeling for the audience for his particular artwork. And so the way that people use art is to provoke emotions. Sometimes happy emotions, sometimes sad emotions, sometimes emotions that will piss you off. But the thing is that the artists want to have some sort of emotion where you see their art. Now, art is also subject to interpretation too, because basically the way the artists originally interpret the art is different than how I would interpret the art. The way I would interpret the art will be different than other people and vice versa. And so art is actually at the beholder of the person that watched it. It's not necessarily dictated by the state about what is artistic expression or what is not artistic expression. What I'm trying to get at is that porn manifests itself through books. It manifests itself through movies. It manifests itself through paintings. And because it manifests itself in 3 different ways, pornography is basically a form of artistic expression. Now, I'm not going to deny that there actually are negative side effects when it comes down to pornography. This comes directly from a study that was done by the Utah State University. It says right here that the user faces difficulty becoming sexually aroused without pornography, that the user will lose interest and engage in fewer sexual experiences with a partner, that pornography consumption can be correlated with increased behaviors of hooking up and infidelity, that a partner feels sexually inadequate and threatened by pornography use, that the partner may feel that certain sexual activities desired by users are objectionable, that both the partner and user experience decreased relationships, sexual satisfaction, and emotional closeness, that the relationship trust decreases thanks to dishonesty and description about pornography use. Like with everything else in life, things must be taken into moderation. Let's take, for example, for the case of sugar. Now, it's been shown that sugar has like a lot of negative effects. In terms of your blood pressure is really bad. In terms of the fact that it can actually rot your teeth, the fact that it's so incredibly addictive. Although we have these kind of things like, for the case of like sweets, or for the case of soda or cookies and whatnot, we still have people have the option to make an adult decision on what to put in their body or not put in your body. And necessarily the same kind of line can be said about for the case of what we consume or not consume. And so it may not be, of course, necessarily good for me to consume it all the time, but ultimately, who is to say that the state could be trusted about what I can put in my body? And who can be said that, the state could be trusted for me watching whatever I want to watch during my free time? Because ultimately, it's about self-responsibility and self-control. And ultimately, we're adults. We have self-responsibility and self-control. And so the state should be far away from that as possible. Earlier in the video, I mentioned how there are negative effects to pornography, but there's also positive effects when it comes to the whole entire issue about sexual liberated societies versus sexual repressed societies, because it says right here that human rights standards, in turn, are increasingly reflected in public health policies and programs with positive implications for health, well-being, and pleasure, with particular attention to the protection of sexuality from the privacy perspective. Within countries, laws and policies that discriminate consensual sexual behavior, eliminate mandatory medical interventions, provide people under 18-year-old access to sexual health education, information, and services they require, serve as good examples of attention to the kind of policies need to ensure health, well-being, rights, and pleasure for all populations. Getting back to the issue of self-responsibility, when parents are adults, they have life experiences in comparison to the kids. And because they have life experiences, that will mean that they grew up with the latest and greatest technology. The latest and greatest technologies are computers and television stations. And because they grow up with technology, they know how it works, that will mean that it's actually the job of the parent to make sure that the kid does not have access to adult material. And one way to block such material among kids is basically using a V-chip for the TV, or for the case of computers, something to block the websites for kids to have access to it. Now, basically there's a concern about kids getting access to porn, and I would agree that's actually a huge concern. And I'm actually against the notion of kids having access to adult movies. That's simply not okay. I think one way is to make sure that every single last porn site probably would be required, maybe by like the state or whatever, to have a XXX at the end of the porn site. So it would be like www.blank.xxx, and by the time, of course, they would change the whole entire notion of XXX for those sites. I think that's one way that parents can actually block all the porn sites. That way no kids can actually have it. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. He's your only black friend, so he's your best black friend. I won't trade him for another black friend, because black friends are rare, as you should be aware. He smiles like Richard Pryor, so just sit and stare. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.